I have a ridiculous amount of young adult books to talk to you about. Yes, I'm a grown-ass 27-year-old woman, and I also love to read young adult. There are so many YA books that I just love, and I think they give me like so much escapism, and I think particularly like as a queer woman, if I'm reading like queer young adult fiction, it's so like heartwarming to me that there's like amazing representation out there and visibility out there that like I just didn't have when I was figuring out my sexuality when I was a teenager. I also just really enjoy having like awareness of what young adult fiction is out there in terms of my job. So I work at a children's publisher, and that includes everything from picture books all the way up through like middle grade and all the way to young adult fiction. And a lot of that young adult fiction does have like crossover appeal for adult readers. And I just like to kind of keep my finger slightly on the pulse when it comes to like what really good young adult fiction is coming out. I have 27 books to talk to you about today, which is a huge number, but that is all of the young adult books that I have acquired from January until now. Some of them I will have already spoken about on the channel and reviewed, so where that is the case, I will link my reviews down below and in the cards as well. Not all of these are books that I have bought, so 15 of them are books that I have got through work, so like full disclosure, and I will give you a heads up when we get to like the second half of the haul, where I'm just going to be kind of racing through books that are published by the place that I work. But the first 12 books on this list are books that I've either bought myself or have been sent to me by other publishers. So it's going to be a big video. I would suggest you get yourself a brew if you haven't already got one. And now let's talk about some books. So the first book I have is Kissing Emma by Shappi Khorsandeh. So Shappi Khorsandeh is a comedian, and I've had a bit of a bad experience recently with fiction books that are written by comedians because they've just been like, I felt like they've been trying too hard to be funny. But I have read a book from Shappi Khorsandeh before, and it was like not that at all. Like it was very heavy and also very much on like the older end of young adult. It was called Nina Is Not Okay, and it was a lot about kind of alcohol addiction and sexual assault. Like it was very heavy topics, and I think this is going to be pretty heavy as well. It does have a not suitable for younger readers like tag on the back. This is about a girl named Emma who is extremely beautiful, but she has like really difficult life circumstances. Like she doesn't really feel like she has any prospects. Like financially, her life is not very secure. And she then meets two men who promise that they can, you know, change her fortunes around, offer her a big opportunity for some modeling work. And there is a darker side to what they are suggesting to her. This sounds absolutely brilliant. As I said, I'd read a book from this author before and thought it was absolutely fantastic. So I feel pretty confident that I will really get on with this one, but I might need to make sure I'm in like a solid frame of mind to read about such a like dark, heavy topic. I also have Gwen Art Are Not in Love by Lex Croucher. So I'm a big fan of Lex's work. I think they are one of actually the most exciting voices in fiction at the minute. This is an Arthurian inspired young adult novel that is about Gwen and Art, who, as the title suggests, are definitely not in love, but they are betrothed to be married, and they would really like to not be getting married. However, it becomes apparent that this kind of like fake relationship could be really advantageous to them, because Gwen is actually interested in dating other girls and Art is interested in dating other boys. So they are both queer, interested in queer relationships, and they kind of have this like cover up relationship to kind of allow them to be getting on with what they actually want to get on with. Have heard such good things about this. Super excited to read it. Next, I have Cupids Revenge by Wiebke Brugman. So I read this author's previous book, Love is for Losers, back when I worked at the publisher that publishes this. I've still got like my old proof copy, I think, and I loved that book. Like when I mentioned earlier about having like very positive queer representation growing up, like reading Love is for Losers was a real moment where I realized like how much progress had been made since I was a teenager. So this book is a bit of a love triangle between Tilly, Teddy, and Catherine. So we've got Tilly, who is just like not interested in love at all, and her best friend Teddy, who really wants a girlfriend. That is like a no-go situation. Like that's not happening. Then enter Catherine, and Teddy thinks that Catherine is perfect for him. So he ropes Tilly in on his scheme. He convinces Tilly to audition for a local theatre production to help him woo Catherine, but things don't quite go to plan, especially when Tilly wants to get more and more involved in this play because she is interested in Catherine. It's a gay theatre book. Like, where are my Alice Oseman fans at? Like, you should read this. This next author I did have 4 books from, but now I only have 3 because I've already unhauled one of them because I read it and didn't love it. So I have When You Get the Chance, You Have a Match, and Tweet Cute, all by Emma Lord. So I read Begin Again back in April and I didn't love it. As I said, I will leave like videos linked where you can hear my thoughts about it, but that hasn't discouraged me. Like, I do have 3 more books from this author and I want to give her another go. I think I will probably give Tweet Cute a go next because I think it's kind of this author's like most famous book. What I'm getting is this is like an enemies to lovers male-female romance between Pepper and Jack. Not only are they like rivals, but their families are rivals, and I don't quite know how this setup works, but their families have like dueling Twitter accounts. So there's like lots of like snarky exchanges of memes and like retweeting drama, all the while Jack and Pepper seem to be falling for each other. So I'm not sure what I will think of this one just based on finding Begin Again like a little bit twee, but this is the book that Emma Lord is most famous for, so I want to give her another go. I think if I don't like that, I will probably find a better home for these 2, but if I do like it, I will certainly go on and read them. I think this is also like an enemies to lovers vibe. So it's about Millie, who dreams of being a Broadway star. She has like an arch rival in this drama club, Oliver, and then I don't know what the vibe is there. Maybe that's the enemies to lovers. Like, I don't really know if it's enemies to lovers or not. But the next like plot point of this book is kind of wild to me because Millie finds her dad's like live journal account from 2003 that is like super embarrassing, and that begins kind of like the chain of events in this book. But like, oh my god, is that not your worst nightmare of like your child finding your embarrassing social media? And then finally, You Have a Match is about a girl named Abby who signs up for a DNA service, and as part of this process like something comes to light that is like really unexpected for her, and then she's also like navigating the dynamic between her and her best friends who are Leo and Connie, and also something like really big and embarrassing that happened with Leo. Next up are a couple of books that I've already read and reviewed on the channel, so I'll talk about those super quickly, and they're by the same author. So I have A Million to One by Adiba Jagadar and The Do's and Donuts of Love by the same author. A Million to One is a young adult heist novel that is set on board the Titanic. I didn't love this one. As I said, I will leave my full review linked so you can hear my thoughts. So that made me like a little bit nervous picking up The Do's and Donuts of Love. I adore this author. I had read their 2 previous books, so The Henna Wars and Honey and Issue's Guide to Fake Dating. Honey and Issue is one of my favorite young adult books. So when I was a little bit disappointed by A Million to One, I was really nervous about The Do's and Donuts of Love, but I didn't need to be. This was like super cute. It is a female-female romance that is set against the backdrop of this Bake Off-esque competition. It was very cute. I was a big fan. I also have a copy of the brilliantly titled Shitbag by Zena Knox. This book has like such important representation that I think I've never really seen in fiction anywhere, certainly not in YA. So this is about Freya, who collapses one day and she wakes up and she has a temporary ileostomy bag. Her summer plans involved going and partying in the Algarve, but that is not what is going to happen now. She is going to a poo camp, which is a place for kids with bowel disease to kind of get to know each other and bond and share experiences. She thinks things can't get any worse, but they do when she starts being called Shitbag. And Freya decides that she's going to start living up to that nickname. I just think this is like such a brilliant and important concept for a book. I'm really excited to read this, and I have a fantastic tote bag to go with it as well. Okay, onto the books that I have got from work. I'm going to go through these like super quickly, and a lot of them are like by the same author as well, so I can go through them quite quickly. I'm just going to give like super quick overviews of them. So I have 3 books from F.T. Lukens. I have So This Is Ever After, In Deeper Waters and Spellbound. If you are looking for some like cozy fantasy, then I'd really recommend FT Lukens. Like, they're very like magical fantasy adventure world, but also like extremely queer, really cozy, kind of low stakes romps. I think FT Lukens is a really fun author. I think if you are kind of looking for the vibe of maybe like a Carry On by Rainbow Rowell, then you might really like these ones. I have The First to Die at the End by Adam Silvera. This is the prequel to the TikTok sensation They Both Die at the End. I have the really gorgeous W.H. Smith's edition that has like this shiny clock face. I think there's still copies of this available if you wanted to get yourself a copy, but I think it's like so cool. Next I have The Love Match by Priyanka Taslim. This is about a girl named Zara who is Bangladeshi but lives in New Jersey. Her mother is really pressuring her to like get married for money, and that is not what Zara wants, especially not when the person that is in the picture for her to potentially get married to is like super aloof and she's not interested in him. She is actually interested in a different boy who is a dishwasher, so he doesn't offer the kind of same like wealth incentive as this other boy does, but he is like really supportive of her dreams, and Zara thinks he's a much better match for her. So we have this kind of love triangle between the three of them. Forget Me Not by Alison Derrick. This is a female-female romance between Stevie and Nora, who have that kind of like once in a lifetime completely besotted with each other love. That is until one night Stevie has a fall and her memory from the last 2 years is completely wiped. So she finds herself in this life that she doesn't recognize or understand, and she has this girlfriend that she doesn't know. You may know the name Alison Derrick as the co-author of She Gets the Girl, which she authored alongside her wife Rachel Lippincott, who has written a number of really fantastic YA books, but it is really exciting to have a solo book from Alison. Chaos Theory by Nick Stone. This is another author who has written a number of books, possibly most famously Dear Martin, but there's also Dear Justice, Odd One Out, and Jackpot. So in this we're following Shelby and Andy. Shelby has moved to a new high school in her final year, which is in the middle of nowhere. She doesn't really plan to make any friends. Then we have Andy, who is at his lowest point, has had a terrible year, and he needs someone to talk to. He sends an accidental text to Shelby, and that is what ends up connecting these two teenagers. They feel this real connection, they feel really drawn to each other, but the closer they get, the more chaos threatens to interfere with their lives. How to Die Famous by Benjamin Dean. I spoke about this one very recently. I know so many of you are huge fans of Benjamin Dean, as am I. I have loved every single one of his books. This one was no different. It is about Abel, who is living a double life. He is signed up to become kind of the next Hollywood, like Disney-esque heartthrob in this really big TV show, but it's a TV show that has a lot of kind of dark secrets and reputation, and it seems to be cursed. And Abel is actually an undercover journalist who has been tasked with finding out what exactly is going on, what is the really dark thing that is happening in relation to this TV show, and he also has a very personal connection to this as well. How Far Weve Come by Joyce Effia Harmer. This is a really powerful, important, devastating, but also hopeful novel about a girl who is enslaved in Barbados. So it's historical fiction that also has a sci-fi element to it, because she meets a boy named Jacob, and Jacob is actually from the 21st century and wants to take our main character back with him to give her a better life. So I think if you've read like Kindred by Octavia E. Butler, you would also find the themes and the writing style of this really interesting. I also have 3 books from Holly Black. So I have Tide, Valiant, and Ironside. Holly Black, possibly most famously known as the author of The Cruel Prince, among many other books, but this is her modern fairy tale series, which is a little bit older but has been recently brought out with these brilliant new jackets. It's a modern fairy tale series, so of course imagine knights, magic, fairies, all that good stuff, and as someone who can get quite intimidated by fantasy, I really welcome there being some slightly slimmer fantasy novels. So a very little niche element of my job is not only do we publish books in the UK, but we also sometimes bring over books that are published in the US. And I have 4 books that fall into that category from 2 different authors. So I have Today, Tonight, and Tomorrow and We Can't Keep Meeting Like This by Rachel Lynn Solomon. I read Rachel Lynn Solomon's adult books, The X-Talk and The Weather Girl, and I loved them. I thought they were so cute. I read them both while I was on a flight and just completely devoured them. So really excited to read some YA from her. Today, tonight and tomorrow is an enemies to lovers male-female romance that is kind of about two characters who are really like high achievers in their high school and the lead up to graduation and like valedictorian and that kind of thing. We Can't Keep Meeting Like This is another male-female romance that is about two teenagers who for a long time their families have been in business together. So one family have a wedding planning business, one family have catering business, and they work together on projects. And it's about the romance between the two teenagers in the families. And then finally, I have two books from Lynn Painter. So I have Better Than the Movies and The Do-Over. Better Than the Movies, another male-female romance that has a lot of like movie references to it, like kind of 90s, noughties, I think even like some 80s rom-com references throughout. And like many of those kind of teen movies from the period, it is leading up to prom. And The Do-Over is kind of this like time loop romance that is set like repeatedly on Valentine's Day, which is just such like a fun concept. I love like a romance book that has like a little kind of like gimmick to it like that. I think it's really fun. So that is it. They are all of the young adult books that I'm going to talk to you about today. Do leave me a comment down below and let me know if you've read any of these, what you thought of them. Do you like reading YA, or is it something that you really avoid? I mean, if you've made it to this point in the video and you don't like YA, I mean, huge congratulations. I'm so grateful for you. If you don't have anything in particular to say, but you want to let me know that you are here, leave me a cake emoji in honor of We Can't Keep Meeting Like This and the cake that is on the cover of this book. I recently did a very chatty video where I caught you up on a lot of kind of life stuff, so I will leave that link down below in the description and in the cards as well. If you want to catch up with what's been going on in my life and you haven't watched that video already, I would also really love if you could follow me on my new Bookstagram account, which again will be linked anywhere you might want to find a link. I've been really enjoying getting into Bookstagram, so if you want to see more bookish stuff from me in between videos, that's where you should go. That's all I'm going to chat about today. I hope you're doing well, and I will speak to you soon.